and welcome to the first master level Great British Family Quiz. Now, if you've clicked on this quiz by mistake, this is a slightly harder version than the quiz that we run every week. Now, that doesn't mean you won't be able to answer any of the questions, but some of them might be a little more challenging. Now, every week the quiz plays out over 6 rounds, and there is a maximum of 60 points that can be earned, 1 point per correct answer. Now, as normal, we follow a set format for the quiz. So round 1 is general knowledge. Round 2 is the picture round. Round 3 is a wildcard, and that means every single week that round will change, whether it's a different format or a different topic. Round 4 is generally based around pop culture and is occasionally a multiple choice round. Rounds 5 and 6 have some very specific rules around them, and I'll explain more about those when we get to them. Now, if you're competitive or you just want to easily record your scores, then if you take a look in the description of this video, you'll find a link to download an answer sheet. Now, this answer sheet is generic across all of the quizzes, so you can print off multiple copies and use them each week. If you don't have access to a printer, then just grab a pen and paper to write down your answers. Now, if you're ready, we'll dive into the rules and then we'll get going with this week's master level quiz. Okay, here are the rules. There are 6 rounds in total. You can score a maximum of 60 points. That is 10 points per round or 1 point for every correct answer. I will give you the answers to the questions after every 2 rounds. If you need a score sheet, the link is in the description below, and this is just a bit of fun, but please, no smartphones, tablets or computers allowed. So with that, we will get into round 1, and if you're ready, let's dive in to some general knowledge. Question 1. What does the VEI scale measure? Question 2. Which philosopher wrote The Republic? Question 3. What is the capital of Myanmar? Question 4. What element is named after the creator of the periodic table? Question 5. Who was the last English monarch to die in battle? Question 6. Which Scottish football club was the first to win the European Cup? Question 7. Which cult favourite sci-fi series by Joss Whedon was cancelled by Fox after just 1 season? Question 8. Which island group includes Mull, Skye and Isla? Question 9. In what year was the Football Association, the FA, founded? And question 10. What is the term for the theoretical temperature at which all molecular motion stops? So that's round 1 done and dusted. Hopefully we've all found our feet now, and we're going to dive in to the picture round. Which country's flag is this? Name this submarine which was the first to dive the Marianas Trench. Question 13. What is the name of this type of nuclear reactor? Question 14. Stevie Nicks was married to which member of the Eagles? Question 15. In the movie Forrest Gump, who played Lieutenant Dan? Question 16. Name this children's television show from 1969. Question 17. Name the company and the car. Question 18. They share the same name, but what is it? Question 19. Newton's second law. Explain the formula. Who was the shortest serving US president? Okay, let's dive into the answers from rounds 1 and 2 and see how you did. Answer number 1. What does the VEI scale measure? And it's volcanic eruptions. It stands for the Volcanic Explosivity Index. Answer number 2. Which philosopher wrote the Republic? And that was Plato. Answer 3. What is the capital of Myanmar? And it's Naypyidaw. Answer number 4. What element is named after the creator of the periodic table? And that's Mendelevium, named after Dmitri Mendeleev. Answer 5. Who was the last English monarch to die in battle? And that was Richard III. Answer 6. Which Scottish football club was the first to win the European Cup? And that was Celtic in 1967. Answer 7. Which cult sci-fi series by Joss Whedon was cancelled by Fox after just one season? And that was Firefly. Answer 8. Which island group includes Mull, Skye and Islay? And that's the Inner Hebrides. Answer number 9. In what year was the Football Association founded? It was 1863. And the final one for our general knowledge round, answer 10. What is the term for the theoretical temperature at which all molecular motion stops? And that is absolute zero. Okay, that's our first 10 questions done. Total up your answers and we'll dive into the answers from questions 11 through 20 in our picture round. So we started with this one. Which country's flag is this? This is San Marino's. Name the submarine that was the first to dive the Marianas Trench. and that was the Trieste. What is the name of this type of nuclear reactor? This is a tokamak. Number 14. Stevie Nicks was married to which member of the Eagles? That was, of course, Don Henley. Question 15. In the movie Forrest Gump, who played Lieutenant Dan? That was Gary Sinise. Question 16. Name this children's TV show, one from my childhood. That was Mary, Mungo and Midge. Question 17. Name the company and the car. And it is, of course, a Jensen Interceptor. 18. They share the same name. What is it? And it is, of course, James Taylor. James Taylor the singer and James Taylor the cricketer. Newton's second law. Explain the formula. Force equals mass times acceleration. And answer number 20. Who was the shortest serving US president? And that was William Henry Harrison, who served just 31 days as US president. Okay, round 3. Round 3 is our wildcard round, and this week it's all around World War II. Question 21. What was the name of the German Air Force? Question 22. Which conference in 1945 set post-war terms and divided Germany? Question 23. Who was the Emperor of Japan during World War II? Question 24. What was the name of the Soviet sniper who became famous during the Battle of Stalingrad? Question 25. What was the code name for the Allied invasion of North Africa? Question 26. What was the name given to the artificial harbours constructed by the Allies and used during the D-Day landings in Normandy? Question 27. What was the code name of the operation for the planned Allied invasion of Japan that was never carried out due to Japan's surrender? Question 28. Which naval battle in 1942 is considered a major turning point in the Pacific War? Question 29. Operation Chariot was a commando raid on which French dry dock port? And the final question for our wildcard round this week, question 30. What squadron of the RAF became known as the Dam Busters? Okay, round 4 is all about movie remakes. In this round, you're going to be looking for the name of a movie, and it will have had at least one remake since its original. Now we're talking remakes here, not sequels, and all you need to do is name the movie. So question 31, a dance at Kellerman's, twice as dirty. Question 32. He kicked off his Sunday shoes. Twice. Question 33. She swapped her voice for legs. Again. Question 34. A star rises, but fame takes its toll. Question 35. They told her to stay away from the prom. She should have listened. Question 36. What happens when you cross a body-swapping wish with a fortune cookie? Question 37. She wore Prada, but this time she's real. Question 38. He's the law, even in a dystopian future. Twice. Question 39. The Bene Gesserit are known to say, fear is the mind killer. And question 40, they blew the bloody doors off twice. Okay, it's time to see how you did in those last two rounds. Let's dive in with our wildcard round and answer number 21. What was the name of the German Air Force? And that was the Luftwaffe. Answer 22. Which conference in 1945 set post-war terms and divided Germany? And this was the Yalta Conference. Answer 23. Who was the Emperor of Japan during World War II? And that was Emperor Hirohito. Answer 24. What was the name of the Soviet sniper who became famous during the Battle of Stalingrad? And that's Vasily Zaitsev, played in a great movie called Enemy at the Gates by Jude Law. Answer 25. What was the code name for the Allied invasion of North Africa? And that was Operation Torch. Answer 26. What was the name given to the artificial harbours constructed by the Allies and used during the D-Day landings in Normandy? And those were Mulberry Harbours. Answer 27. What was the code name of the operation for the planned Allied invasion of Japan that was never carried out due to Japan's surrender? And that was Operation Downfall. Answer 28. Which naval battle in 1942 is considered the major turning point in the Pacific War? And that was the Battle of Midway. Answer 29. Operation Chariot was a commando raid on which famous French dry dock port? And that was Saint-Nazaire. And answer 30. Which squadron of the RAF became known as the Dam Busters? And that was 617 Squadron. Okay, let's jump on to our movie round with answer 31. A Dance at Kellerman's, Twice as Dirty, was of course Dirty Dancing. Answer 32. He kicked off his Sunday shoes twice. And that was Footloose. Answer 33. She swapped her voice for legs. Again. The Little Mermaid. Answer 34. A star rises but fame takes its toll. A Star is Born. Answer 35. They told her to stay away from the prom. She should have listened. Was Carrie. Answer 36. What happens when you cross a body swapping wish with a fortune cookie? Was Freaky Friday. Answer 37. She wore Prada, but this time she's real. That was, of course, 101 Dalmatians. Answer 38. He's the law, even in a dystopian future. Twice. And that was Judge Dredd. Answer 39. The Bene Gesserit are known to say, fear is the mind killer. And that was, of course, June. And the final one for this round, answer number 40. They blew the bloody doors off. Twice. Was, of course, the Italian Job. Okay, it's time for round 5, which is our connections round. Now in the connections round, you will see 5 questions all on the screen at the same time. The answers to the first 4 questions will give you a clue to the answer to the final question. Now I'm going to give you 2 minutes to answer all 5 questions, and the time will start as soon as I finish reading out the questions. And there are 2 sets of 5 questions in this round, giving you a maximum score of 10 points. Okay, questions 41 to 45. 41. Which 19th century mathematician and writer is considered the first computer programmer, due to her work on Charles Babbage's analytical engine? Question 42. What fruit is the traditional gift given to a teacher in American folklore and culture? Question 43. Which minimalist German industrial designer, famous for working at Braun, heavily influenced 20th century product design? Which spiritual movement rooted in Mahayana Buddhism emphasizes meditation and direct insight? And question 45. Which individual links the previous 4 answers through their life, design philosophy and spiritual beliefs and impact on modern computing? Now you have full 2 minutes to answer those questions. Okay, time's up. Let's move on with questions 46 through 50. Question 46. Which element has an atomic number of 88 and was named after the word meaning ray? Question 47. What prestigious international award was first given in 1901 and has been awarded in categories like peace, literature and chemistry? Question 48. Which European capital city is home to the Sorbonne, one of the oldest and most prestigious universities in the world? Question 49. What scientific term refers to the spontaneous emission of particles or electromagnetic rays in the decay of atomic nuclei? And question 50. Which pioneering scientist connects the previous four answers through groundbreaking research, international recognition, and contributions to the understanding of atomic science? You now have a full 2 minutes to answer those questions. Okay, time's up. Let's move on to our final round, all or nothing. Now in this round, you're going to get 10 slightly harder general knowledge questions. You must answer every single question correct or pass. So you can either write down an answer or you can write down pass. If you do not pass the question and you make an attempt and it is wrong, you will lose all of your points from this round. So only answer the questions that you're absolutely sure that you know the answer. Otherwise, write down pass or just don't write down anything. And you can pass as many questions in this round as you like. But remember, every question you answer, you're risking all of your points from this round. With that said, let's dive into question 51. Which American author known for Slaughterhouse-Five was also a prisoner of war during the bombing of Dresden? Question 52. Which real-life con artist who posed as a pilot, doctor and a lawyer before the age of 21 was later recruited by the FBI to help combat fraud and became the subject of a 2002 film directed by Steven Spielberg? Question 53. Which chemical element has the symbol W? Question 54. Which 1960s British scandal involved a cabinet minister, a model, and fears of Soviet espionage? Question 55. Which British MP was imprisoned in 2001 for perjury related to a libel case involving an alleged affair? Question 56. Which dystopian novel begins with the line, "It was a bright cold day in April and the clocks were striking 13"? Question 57. Which gas is the most abundant in the Earth's atmosphere? Question 58. Which ancient Egyptian pharaoh of the 19th dynasty, often regarded as the greatest and most powerful of the New Kingdom rulers, signed the earliest known peace treaty with the Hittites after the Battle of Kadesh? Question 59. Which famous military action during the Crimean War of 1854 saw a British cavalry unit mistakenly charge directly into Russian artillery fire due to a miscommunication, later immortalised in a poem by Alfred Lord Tennyson? And your final question for this round and for this quiz, which Silicon Valley entrepreneur, once hailed as the youngest self-made female billionaire, was convicted in 2022 of defrauding investors over false claims about her blood testing startup, Theranos? We're approaching the finish line. Let's total up those last two rounds and let's get you to your final score for this quiz. Questions 41 to 45. Which 19th century mathematician and writer is considered the first computer programmer due to her work on Charles Babbage's analytical engine? And this was, of course, Ada Lovelace. What fruit is the traditional gift given to a teacher in American folklore and culture? And that's the apple. Which minimalist German designer, famous for working at Braun, heavily influenced 20th century product design? And that was Dieter Rams. Which spiritual movement rooted in Mahayana, apologies if I'm saying that incorrectly, Mahayana Buddhism emphasizes meditation and direct insight? And that's Zen. And which individual links the previous four answers through their life, design philosophy, spiritual beliefs, and impact on modern computing? And that's Steve Jobs. Okay, questions 46 through 50. Which element has the atomic number of 88 and was named after the word meaning ray? And that was radium. What prestigious international award was first given in 1901 and has been awarded in categories like peace, literature, and chemistry? And that's the Nobel Prize. Which European capital city is home to the Sorbonne, one of the oldest and most prestigious universities in the world? And that is Paris. Which scientific term refers to the spontaneous emission of particles or electromagnetic rays in the decay of the atomic nuclei? And that's radioactivity. And then your final one for this round. Which pioneering scientist connects the previous four answers through groundbreaking research, international recognition, and contributions to the understanding of atomic science? And and that's Marie Curie. Okay, answer number 51. Which American author known for Slaughterhouse-Five was also a prisoner of war during the bombing of Dresden? And that was Kurt Vonnegut. Answer 52. Which real-life con artist who posed as a pilot, doctor and lawyer before the age of 21 was later recruited by the FBI to help combat fraud, and became the subject of a 2002 film directed by Steven Spielberg? And that was Frank Abagnale Jr. Answer 53. Which chemical element has the symbol W? And that's tungsten. Answer 54. Which 1960s British scandal involved a cabinet minister, a model and fears of Soviet espionage? And that was the Profumo affair. Answer 55. Which British MP was imprisoned in 2001 for perjury related to a libel case involving an alleged affair? And that was Jonathan Aitken. Answer 56. Which dystopian novel begins with the line, "It was a bright cold day in April and the clocks were striking 13"? And that was 1984. Answer 57. Which gas is the most abundant in the Earth's atmosphere? And that's nitrogen. Answer 58. Which ancient Egyptian pharaoh of the 19th dynasty, often regarded as the greatest and most powerful of the New Kingdom rulers, signed the earliest known peace treaty with the Hittites after the Battle of Kadesh? And that was Ramesses II, sometimes known as Ramesses the Great. I'll accept either as the correct answer. Answer 59. Which famous military action during the Crimean War of 1854 saw a British cavalry unit mistakenly charge directly into Russian artillery fire due to a miscommunication, later immortalised in a poem by Alfred Lord Tennyson? And that was the Charge of the Light Brigade. And answer number 60. Which Silicon Valley entrepreneur, once hailed as the youngest self-made female billionaire, was convicted in 2022 of defrauding investors over false claims about her blood testing startup Theranos? And that was Elizabeth Holmes. So, how did you do? Is this your first time taking the harder quiz? Well, I hope the questions weren't too hard for you. We have upped the difficulty level just a little bit, but I'd love to know what you think. Do you like these slightly harder quizzes? Would you prefer more of the easier quizzes? Do let me know in the comments below. But how did you score? Well, if you scored less than 10, these were some hard questions, so congratulations. Well done for at least trying. 11 to 25, you're definitely getting there. You're upping your game when it comes to trivia quizzes. 25 to 50, you're at the top of the class. And 50 plus, if you've got 50 plus in this particular quiz, then you are a quizzing legend. All it remains is for me to say thank you very much for playing. I hope you've enjoyed this. Do let me know if you like the harder quiz. Hit me up in the comments below. I'd love to know what you think. And don't forget to post your scores. I do look at all of the comments, even if I can't reply to every single one of them, and I'd love to know how you got on with this particular quiz. So all it remains is for me to say thank you very much for joining me for this master level quiz, and I will be back next week returning to our normal level of quizzing. With that, it just remains for me to say thanks for joining me, and if I'm lucky, I'll see you back here real soon for another video. Take care. Bye-bye.